It was the 37th annual cultural festival at Hozumino High School, and all the students were busy getting ready for the event. Sueharu walked up to Tetsuhiko, who asked if everything was set. They bumped fists, pumped and ready for their performance later on. While walking down the hallway, they ran into Mitsuru, who suddenly said he was worried about Sueharu. He didn't understand why Mitsuru would say something like that so out of the blue. Mitsuru warned him that he might end up crying from the shock of what was going to happen that day. Sueharu responded that he should be the one saying that to Mitsuru instead. Tetsuhiko actually thought Sueharu's whole revenge plan was kind of ridiculous. It was just an emotional outlet, nothing more. Still, he could understand where Sueharu was coming from. After all, a first love feels like a curse, and he got why Sueharu wanted to get even. So Tetsuhiko gave him a few words of encouragement to help him win. At that point, Sueharu was waiting for his turn to go on stage. Kuroha showed up in costume and asked for his opinion on her look. He told her she looked super cute, which immediately made her blush hard. Not long after, Guno suddenly barged in and attacked Sueharu. Guno's friend said his heart hurt way more now that he saw Sueharu getting closer to Kuroha. While Sueharu was glancing around the area, Tetsuhiko casually mentioned that Shirakusa's group wouldn't be performing anytime soon. Sueharu seemed surprised and insisted he wasn't looking for Shirakusa. That's when Tetsuhiko pointed out that someone was waiting to see Sueharu, gesturing toward a person standing by the door, waving at him. Sueharu had no clue who the person was, but he went over to meet them on the stairs. When he asked who it was, the person greeted him with a cheerful "Su," and just like that, Sueharu realized who it was. It was Shiru, his childhood friend. Shiru was thrilled that Sueharu still remembered her. As Sueharu tried to move closer, Shiru stopped him. To her surprise, Sueharu actually looked really happy to see her, even though she had been worried he might feel awkward running into her again. Shiru admitted she had been afraid Sueharu might have forgotten about her or even resented her since he quit acting and never came to see her again. But Sueharu reassured her that wasn't the case at all. A lot had happened since then. He apologized, especially because he had once promised he would play the lead role in the story she wrote. Shiru was touched that Sueharu still remembered that promise. It even brought tears to her eyes. Sueharu asked how she had been doing and whether she was still in school. Shiru explained that after they lost touch, she gradually started to get back on her feet. Ever since then, she had made up her mind to get stronger. She studied hard, got into sports to overcome her weaknesses, and most importantly, kept writing stories. 2 years ago, her work finally got recognized. Sueharu was genuinely happy for her. That meant Shiru had officially debuted as a novelist. Shiru said she had always wanted to catch up to Sueharu. She wanted him to see her, to acknowledge her. So she tried everything she could to become someone beautiful in his eyes. Then she stepped forward and took off her cap to show her face to Sueharu. And that was when the truth hit him. His childhood friend Shiru was actually Shirakusa. Shirakusa explained that she really was Shiru. When her dad used to call her Shiro, Sueharu misheard it and started calling her Sharu instead. She confessed that she had missed Sueharu terribly. She also shared that she had won the Akutami Award and now had a story worthy of him as the lead actor. She asked if she had become beautiful now, especially since she used to be mistaken for a boy. She had worked really hard and even her photo had made it into a magazine. But deep down, Shirakusa admitted she felt sad and frustrated seeing how close Sueharu had gotten to Kuroha. Sueharu apologized for not realizing who Shiru really was all this time, but Shirakusa felt happy just knowing that Sueharu still remembered their promise. She asked if it was okay for her to start calling him Su again, and also asked him to stop calling her Shiru now that he knew she was a girl all along. Shirakusa asked Sueharu to start calling her Shiro because she always felt uneasy whenever he called Kuroha Kuro. Sueharu agreed and then asked her why she brought it up. Shirakusa admitted that she hadn't realized how complicated things had been for him after he stopped being a child actor. She confessed that she used to blame him for everything and regretted how she acted back then. That was why she decided to tell him this now, especially since today felt like Sueharu's comeback day. Sueharu told her to wait for him. He planned to bring his acting skills into the story she wrote, and he was confident it would be a hit. Hearing that, Shirakusa was genuinely moved. It had been a long time since anyone had said something like that to her. As she walked down the stairs afterward, she was startled to find Kuroha waiting for her. Kuroha said she had already figured out that the kid in the photo was Shirakusa. Shirakusa responded by saying that from now on, Sueharu would be calling her Shiro. But Kuroha wasn't impressed. She said that didn't mean anything in terms of winning or losing, and if Shirakusa thought she had already won just because of that, then her thinking was way too shallow. Sueharu, still in shock from realizing that Shirakusa was actually his childhood friend, was suddenly approached by Kuroha. who asked him to walk around the festival with her. She casually remarked that she was Kuro and Shirakusa was Shiro, then asked why she was being painted as the bad guy in all of this. Shuei Haru jokingly asked if maybe she was jealous, but Kuroha brushed it off. She reminded him that technically they were dating, and she didn't have any interest in entertaining someone like Shirakusa, who she called a loser. When he laughed at how annoyed Kuroha looked, he guessed that maybe she only acted like this in front of him to get his attention. Embarrassed, Kuroha turned away and couldn't even look at him. Shuei Haru was surprised, considering she had said way more embarrassing things before. Kuroha said she just wasn't ready to be hit with something like that out of the blue. He apologized and promised not to say anything else that would make her panic like that again. After that, Shuei Haru walked around the festival with Kuroha. They watched performances, played goldfish scooping, and grabbed some udon. Kuroha mentioned that the closing ceremony was coming up soon and it would soon be Shuei Haru's turn. She admitted that she didn't know what kind of revenge plan he had in mind, but she wanted him to know one thing: she didn't want to see him getting into another fight. Still, if he was going to face things with optimism and passion, then she wanted to support him. All she really wanted was for him to act freely, without being held back by anything. Suddenly, Kuroha slapped him gently, not out of anger, but as a symbolic gesture. From that moment on, their relationship had been reset. So whatever Shuei Haru decided to do next, it would no longer involve her. Even if he ended up confessing to Shirakusa, Kuroha would be out of the picture. She apologized, then ran off, saying that she would always be watching him. The Love Shooting Festival event had started by then. It was Ryo Hagiwara's turn to take the stage and confess. He said the person he liked was Kane Takenaka. Ever since they worked together on the sports festival committee, he had fallen for her. In front of everyone, he shouted out his feelings and asked her to be his girlfriend. To everyone's surprise, Kane happily accepted his confession. Soon it would be Shuei Haru's turn to go on stage. Tetsuhiko asked if Shuei Haru thought he could win. Shuei Haru said that ever since he was a kid, he had always had this internal switch he flipped whenever it was time to act. At that moment, the host announced that it was time for the last contestant, Mitsuru, to take the stage. Mitsuru greeted the crowd and said he had joined the event to express his feelings to someone special. But since he wasn't great with words, he decided to do it through song and dance instead. Mitsuru said that the song and dance were dedicated to Shirakusa. He performed the theme song from a film he starred in as a child actor, singing and dancing on stage. His performance was so captivating that the audience couldn't help but get excited and start dancing along. Right in the middle of his performance, Shuei Haru suddenly ran onto the stage. Mitsuru was a bit surprised to see him appear out of nowhere, but without missing a beat, Shuei Haru joined in. He sang and danced flawlessly. In that moment, Shuei Haru realized that his fear of performing on stage wasn't really about trauma anymore. What pushed him forward was the desire to do his best in front of the girl he liked. There was no time to dwell on the past. Tetsuhiko watched from the audience, clearly impressed and satisfied by what he saw. Kuroha was so moved that she began to cry. When the music ended, the entire student body erupted into applause, cheering Shuei Haru's name. Mitsuru had already suspected that Shuei Haru was a real star. Kuroha couldn't believe that he had actually pulled it off. Then out of the blue, Mitsuru turned to the students and announced that Shuei Haru, a second-year student from Class 2B and a member of the entertainment club, was the real star. He added that it was time for the main event. Shuei Haru's confession. Shuei Haru then said that he had once liked Shirakusa, so when he heard that she was dating Mitsuru, it came as a huge shock. He admitted that his decision to come back on stage was partly driven by a desire to challenge Mitsuru. He had wanted to get back at both Mitsuru and Shirakusa, but standing there, he realized who really mattered to him. That person was Kuroha. He shouted out that he truly liked Kuroha. His words stunned everyone, especially Shirakusa and Kuroha. Shuei Haru acknowledged that Kuroha had always been by his side. She was the one who had saved him. He apologized for always being a handful, but told her that he needed her. Then, without hesitation, he asked Kuroha to be his girlfriend. To everyone's surprise, Kuroha said she didn't want to. Shuei Haru, clearly confused, asked if she was serious. Kuroha smiled and said that yes, she meant every word. Shuei Haru was completely caught off guard and couldn't understand why Kuroha had turned him down. After the event, Tetsuhiko approached Mitsuru and asked why he intentionally played the role of the bad guy. Tetsuhiko pointed out that the former child actor was Shuei Haru's treasure, so why did Mitsuru use that particular song? Mitsuru responded by saying Tetsuhiko's intuition was just as sharp as people said, and he was right. Tetsuhiko had a general grasp of the situation, but what he really wanted to know was why Mitsuru would willingly take on that role. Mitsuru explained that his relationship with Shirakusa was like that of siblings. He had known for a long time that Shirakusa had feelings for Shuei Haru. Even though she couldn't see him, her feelings were strong enough that she dreamed of making Sueharu fall in love with her, only to reject him afterward. That's what Shirakusa once told Mitsuru. He also shared that Shirakusa had tried giving Sueharu hints about her feelings, but he never made a move. While she was frustrated by that, Kuroha ended up confessing to Sueharu first. Even though Shirakusa felt relieved that Sueharu didn't accept Kuroha's confession, she couldn't let her guard down because of how close the two were. In the middle of that emotional mess, Shirakusa got caught up in the moment and lied, saying she was dating Mitsuru. Tetsuhiko thought she could have just cleared things up right away, but Mitsuru explained that Shirakusa once told him that taking back what she said would feel like admitting defeat. That's when Tetsuhiko finally understood why Mitsuru played the bad guy and took all the hate. Meanwhile, Shirakusa was still trying to get closer to Sueharu. Tetsuhiko couldn't understand why Mitsuru would go through all that when there was nothing to gain. But Mitsuru said there was something in it for him. He was a huge fan of Sueharu, the genius child actor. He said he didn't mind being hated if it meant helping Sueharu get back on stage someday. Tetsuhiko was surprised to realize just how kind Mitsuru actually was. According to Mitsuru, while Shirakusa was amazing, it was Kuroha's persistence that broke through to Sueharu in just a month and a half. Tetsuhiko then asked if that meant Mitsuru thought Kuroha would be the one to win in the end. But Mitsuru said everyone had lost big time. Then he invited Tetsuhiko to go check on Kuroha. They found her sitting alone, calling Sueharu an idiot. Tetsuhiko realized she was full of regret. He said Kuroha clearly liked Sueharu and had finally confessed to him, but because she had been rejected once before, she couldn't bring herself to accept his feelings this time. So she ended up turning him down, only to be left reflecting on it afterward. Something similar was happening with Shirakusa too. She had wanted the guy she loved to confess to her so she could turn him down, but in the end, no one ended up in a relationship. Tetsuhiko thought it was such a ridiculous ending to the story. Mitsuru said it all came down to emotions that were hard to control. Still, he was sure that both Kuroha and Shirakusa had genuine, honest feelings. Tetsuhiko and Mitsuru could understand it. After all, first love always felt like a curse. Meanwhile, Sueharu was still deep in thought, crying over everything that had happened. He couldn't understand why it all turned out the way it did, especially why Kuroha, who he knew had feelings for him, couldn't accept his love in return. Sueharu kept dreaming about Kuroha's rejection. He tried to brush it off and pretend it didn't happen. To distract himself, he started playing a word chain game from a magazine, but no matter how hard he tried, his mind kept going back to Kuroha's rejection, and it frustrated him. He couldn't understand why he had been so confident, why he was so sure he could easily beat Mitsuru and win Kuroha over. On the other hand, Kuroha also blamed Sueharu. She kept thinking that if only he had accepted her confession back then, none of this would have happened. She felt like she had gone too far with how she tried to get back at him. At first, she really did want revenge, but deep down, if he had confessed to her earlier, she would have said yes without hesitation. She still couldn't stop thinking about him, even if it felt pointless now, because she truly liked him. At the same time, Shirakusa was also thinking about Sueharu. She admitted to herself that he really was cool. She remembered when Sueharu told her that he used to have feelings for her. That thought made her upset. She had worked so hard to make him fall for her. But in the end, he had turned to another girl, even though he had once liked her. Still, despite all that, Shirakusa couldn't stop liking him. Meanwhile, Sueharu couldn't stop feeling embarrassed. He had thought he was being so cool, only to get rejected in front of everyone. Now he had no idea how he was supposed to face anyone at school. Kuroha and Shirakusa, too, were silently blaming each other, both thinking the other had stolen Sueharu away. The next morning, Tetsuhiko saw Sueharu, Kuroha, and Shirakusa looking totally spaced out. Not long after, an announcement from the information desk came through calling Sueharu to the teacher's office. He had no idea why they were suddenly calling him and started getting a bad feeling about it. Suddenly, Tetsuhiko got a call from someone at a TV station. It turned out that he had uploaded a video of the school festival concert on WebTube and it had hit 1 million views in just 3 days. Tetsuhiko showed the video to Sueharu, revealing that people had started calling him the guy rejected by 1 million hearts. Sueharu was clearly not happy about that nickname. Tetsuhiko said the video had gone viral on TV, and a lot of people felt moved by the fact that Sueharu, the once legendary actor, was now just an ordinary high schooler. Some TV producers even wanted to invite Kuroha, hoping to get rejected by her too as some kind of stunt. Sueharu lost it and went after Tetsuhiko, furious that he had become a national topic of gossip. But Tetsuhiko brushed it off, saying it wasn't such a big deal and confessed he had done it for the money. He even offered to help Sueharu from behind the scenes. As the two were bickering, a girl suddenly came running towards Sueharu's classroom. She ran straight up to him and hugged him tightly. The girl was Maria, the famous actress from the movie Ideal Little Sister. Maria declared that Sueharu belonged to her. Sueharu gently patted her head and told her she was being too dramatic. Maria confessed she had really missed him. It had been a while since they last saw each other, but Sueharu had been keeping up with her accomplishments. He even praised her performance in Ideal Little Sister, saying her acting was truly impressive. Maria was clearly happy to hear that. Just then, Shirakusa and Kuroha walked up to them. Shirakusa asked who Maria was, and Kuroha wanted to hear an explanation straight from Sueharu. Maria chimed in, calling Shirakusa and Kuroha the girls from Sueharu's past, the ones in that viral video. In other words, she was referring to them as the girls Sueharu had once liked and who had rejected him. Maria then declared that she would make him forget all about his past loves. That hit a nerve with both Shirakusa and Kuroha. They began to realize that maybe to Sueharu they were already becoming just memories. They both asked if he was really going to forget about them. Sueharu explained that Maria was his junior at the same talent agency. Back then, he used to help her out a lot. Maria added that Sueharu had taught her everything, from acting skills to how to communicate with co-stars. Basically, everything from A to Z. She said she had learned so much from him. But to Shirakusa and Kuroha, Maria's words sounded pretty suggestive. Maria said she knew Sueharu had retired, so after watching the WetTube video, she just couldn't hold back from coming to see him. Sueharu understood but told her to let go of him, especially since she was now a famous actress. If anyone saw them like this, it would be a huge problem. But Maria insisted that being with Sueharu was totally fine because he was her first love. That afternoon, Tetsuhiko and Sueharu were eating pizza together in class. Tetsuhiko mentioned that things got pretty intense earlier that morning, and Sueharu pointed out that it was actually Tetsuhiko who stirred everything up. Tetsuhiko admitted it and said that was why he was treating Sueharu to lunch. Sueharu said the pizza was really good, but their friends called him an idiot for forgiving Tetsuhiko so easily just over a slice of pizza. It turned out Sueharu wasn't mad because he figured the video might actually be the most effective promotion if he ever made a comeback. Sueharu asked where the pizza came from, and it turned out it was all thanks to Rana. Right then, Rana showed up and greeted Sueharu. Tetsuhiko immediately smacked him because Sueharu had been staring at Rana's chest. Rana introduced herself and handed Sueharu her business card, which said she was an all-round helper. Rana was a first-year student and asked Sueharu to call her just Rana, since that's what Tetsuhiko called her too. Sueharu asked what kind of things someone like her could actually do. Rana said she was willing to do pretty much anything depending on how much she got paid, except for anything inappropriate. Sueharu had been secretly hoping she'd include those kinds of things too. Rana commented that while Sueharu might seem attractive from a general perspective, that wasn't the case when it came to how girls saw him. Tetsuhiko told Rana not to take Sueharu's pervy remarks seriously because he figured Sueharu only had the guts to say them and nothing more. Sueharu realized that Rana didn't think very highly of him. Rana admitted she did respect Sueharu, but she also thought he was perverted and kind of dumb. Sueharu genuinely felt like he was being played, especially when even a well-endowed underclassman like Rana looked down on him. Rana called out Sueharu's comment about her chest as harassment. Sueharu asked what the real deal was between Tetsuhiko and Rana. It turned out they were classmates back in middle school, and Tetsuhiko had taken advantage of Rana from time to time because she was useful. He also pointed out that Rana probably smelled money on Sueharu and had asked Tetsuhiko to introduce her. In return, Tetsuhiko asked her for pizza as a favor. Sueharu complimented Tetsuhiko, saying he was pretty sharp, and realized that Tetsuhiko hadn't even paid for the apology pizza. That made Sueharu kind of impressed. Watching them go back and forth, Rana asked why the two of them didn't seem close at all and how they even managed to be friends. Just as Sueharu was about to answer, Shirakusa suddenly showed up and walked over to Sueharu. Out of nowhere, Gudo yelled out that Sueharu was guilty for having plans with his childhood friend, calling him an idiot for not realizing that childhood friend was actually Shirakusa. Seeing how flustered Shirakusa was, Mako stepped in to calm her down. Shirakusa gathered her courage and asked Sueharu to go out with her. Sueharu wondered if maybe she was actually confessing to him. But Mako clarified that what Shirakusa had said wasn't a date invitation, she just wanted Sueharu to come with her. Mako added that Shirakusa's dad was worried about Sueharu and wanted to check on how he was doing. Shirakusa said she really hoped Sueharu would come over to her house later. She also made it clear that she would never ask him out in the middle of class like that and hoped he wouldn't get the wrong idea. Tetsuhiko pointed out how Shirakusa was surprisingly awkward. Shirakusa shot back, saying Tetsuhiko should be apologizing to her for recklessly posting that video. Tetsuhiko argued that Shirakusa barely even showed up in the video, so it shouldn't have been a big deal for her, and questioned why he should have to apologize. That made Shirakusa mad, and she called him sneaky. Sueharu tried to calm her down, saying he'd deal with Tetsuhiko later. He asked her to forgive him for his sake, and Shirakusa agreed. Tetsuhiko noted that now he had Sueharu and Shirakusa's forgiveness. What remained was getting forgiveness from Kuroha. Kuroha showed up in Sueharu's classroom, which made Shirakusa immediately ask why someone who had rejected Sueharu was even there. Hearing that, both Sueharu and Kuroha were caught off guard. Shirakusa then asked if there was something wrong with what she said. Seeing Kuroha standing in front of him made Sueharu feel nervous. When Kuroha started walking toward him, he instinctively backed away and hid behind Shirakusa. The memory of Kuroha's rejection was still fresh in his mind. Shirakusa chuckled and gently patted Sueharu on the head, telling him that she would never do anything as cruel as Kuroha had. She even compared Kuroha to a stray cat based on the look on her face. Then she asked Kuroha not to approach Sueharu for a while given his current state. She blamed Kuroha for the way Sueharu had ended up and even warned her that if she ever hurt him again, she wouldn't hesitate to get rid of her, jokingly even mentioning dark magic. After hearing that, Kuroha quietly left the classroom and there were tears in her eyes. After school, Sueharu headed down to the river. He called Tetsuhiko to ask about the media situation. Tetsuhiko told him that no reporters were camped outside his house. Even the internet and TV seemed unusually quiet. He figured someone might be working behind the scenes to suppress it all, but Sueharu wasn't convinced. Tetsuhiko added that there was no one in front of Kuroha's house either, and for now he was planning to check in on her. Sueharu asked him to let him know how Kuroha was doing, since she had gone straight home earlier and he had no idea how she was holding up. Tetsuhiko asked why Sueharu didn't just call Kuroha himself. Wasn't it supposed to be his responsibility to check in on her? He also asked if Sueharu had started to hate Kuroha since what happened. Sueharu admitted that he didn't hate Kuroha at all. In fact, what she did to him was something he had once thought about doing to Shirakusa. In a way, he felt like it was karma. What he was feeling wasn't anger or resentment, it was more like guilt and fear. He said he didn't feel betrayed. What scared him the most was his own foolishness and inability to understand people's hearts. Even Kuroha, the one closest to him, was someone he couldn't truly figure out. He didn't even know what he was supposed to do. Meanwhile, Tetsuhiko passed along Sueharu's words to Kuroha and asked her what she planned to do next. When Sueharu got home, he was surprised to find that his front door was unlocked. As soon as he opened it, Maria was standing inside, greeting him like it was the most natural thing in the world. He was stunned and quickly shut the door again, but Maria pulled him in and locked it behind him. She said she figured he must be exhausted and asked if he wanted to eat, take a bath, or maybe even choose her. Sueharu, a bit flustered, joked that if she asked like that, he'd probably choose her, but of course he didn't mean it. He asked how Maria had gotten a key to his house. Instead of answering, she just gave him a smile. He told her that if she was going to play dumb like that, she should just leave. But Maria claimed the key must have fallen from the sky as a reward for all her good deeds. Just then, Sueharu's stomach growled and Maria invited him to eat with her, saying she had already prepared everything. He asked if she had cooked all the food herself. Maria said she had once interrogated Sueharu's mom to find out all his favorite dishes. Hearing that, Sueharu thanked her and ended up eating everything she had made. Afterwards, Sueharu asked if Maria was the one responsible for silencing the media and controlling what was online. Maria admitted that she had taken care of it. Sueharu felt incredibly relieved, but at the same time, he was shocked to learn just how powerful Maria actually was. He still couldn't wrap his head around the fact that someone like Maria, the same chaotic girl who used to drive him crazy, had now become a famous actress. Maria looked a little embarrassed and asked him to forget about those days, but Sueharu said there was no way he could. Back then, she had caused him so much trouble. Maria said she missed those times a lot. She also admitted that she had only come this far because of him and that she was deeply grateful from the bottom of her heart. Sueharu pointed out that whenever Maria acted sweet like that, she usually had an ulterior motive. He asked why she had sneaked into his house. Maria said she just wanted to have a conversation with him somewhere private and free from distractions. She had only recently learned the real reason why he had retired, and during that time, she'd been wanting to see him. But she had always hesitated, unsure if it was okay for her to reach out. She hadn't had the courage to decide on her own because of the way they parted. That's why it felt impossible without some sort of connection. Maria admitted that after seeing the video that had been uploaded, she was deeply moved. To her, Sueharu was still the same person she had always cared about so much. At the same time, she was sure he was the only one who could save her. Hearing this, Sueharu wondered if Maria was caught up in something serious, maybe being threatened or being forced into something strange. Maria then showed him a business card from Hardy Pro's representative and general director, Hardy Shun. Sueharu asked if the head of that agency wasn't Nek Nina and if there had been a change in leadership. Maria explained that Nek Nina's health had declined the previous year, and although she had recovered quickly, she decided she wanted to enjoy the rest of her life. So she passed everything on to her son, who is now traveling the world with her husband. Sueharu laughed, saying that sounded just like Nek Nina, impulsive as always. He mentioned he'd love to see her again. Maria continued, saying that after watching the video, Hardy Shun asked her to convince Sueharu to return to the entertainment industry. But even if he hadn't asked, Maria admitted she had already been thinking the same thing. Sueharu had never heard of Hardy Shun before, and Nek Nina had never mentioned him either. Maria guessed that maybe things were a bit tense between them. Still, she believed Hardy Shun was clearly capable, and said the rest was something Sueharu would need to judge for himself. She asked him to meet Hardy Shun in person. It turned out Maria had brought 2 business cards, and she asked Sueharu to give the other one to Kuroha. She said it seemed Hardy Shun had taken an interest in Kuroha after seeing the video, and asked Maria if she could bring Kuroha along with Sueharu. Suddenly, Kuroha's younger sister Midori called out to Sueharu and opened the door to his house. She shouted at him to unlock the door chain. Sueharu walked over and muttered how rough Midori always was. Midori accused him of hiding a girl inside. Sueharu told her he had to shut the door so he could remove the chain, and once the door was closed, he quickly moved Maria's shoes and asked her to hide. When he finally opened the door, Midori was standing there with Aoi and Akane. Sueharu asked why the 3 of them had shown up so late at night. Midori explained that something was wrong with Kuroha. Akane added that it seemed like Kuroha had lost her memory, and Sueharu was shocked to hear that. When Kuroha's younger sister came to Sueharu's house to let him know that Kuroha had lost her memory, Sueharu immediately asked what kind of memory loss she was experiencing. Mitsuru explained that Kuroha was eating normally. Sueharu then asked if Kuroha poured honey on her sashimi, and Midori answered that she didn't. He followed up by asking if Kuroha mixed rice with cream, and again, Midori confirmed that she hadn't done that either. Akane commented that both Midori and Sueharu were being just as mean as usual, and that the conversation was going nowhere. Suddenly, Maria appeared and called out to Sueharu. Seeing this, Midori was surprised. Sueharu had just been rejected by Kuroha, and yet he was already bringing another girl home. Aoi and Akane started to feel like they had misjudged Sueharu. Sueharu explained that there had been a misunderstanding. He introduced Maria as someone he had known since his days as a child actor. Midori asked if this Maria was the same actress who starred in My Ideal Little Sister. Maria, curious, asked who the 3 girls were. Sueharu told her that they were Kuroha's younger sisters, and since they lived next door, he had come to see them as his own little sisters too. He then introduced Midori, the second youngest, who was tall and in the 3rd year of middle school. He described her as a tough but athletic girl who played tennis at a national level. After that, he introduced Aoi, a kind and humble first-year middle schooler, like an angel according to him. Aoi thought he was exaggerating a little. Then Sueharu introduced Akane, the youngest sibling, who was also a first-year middle school student and Aoi's twin sister. He said Akane was a brilliant girl who held the top math scores in her class. Sueharu mentioned that the Kuroha siblings were known as the Colorful Sisters. Maria asked if that meant they were like real sisters to him, and she requested they start calling her Big Sister. Unfortunately, Sueharu quickly shut that idea down. Maria immediately acted playfully, and Midori had to pull her away so she wouldn't get too close to Sueharu. Maria asked if Midori was jealous. Midori denied it and said she had no intention of calling Maria Big Sister. Maria said she was hoping to post a selfie of them together on social media as a keepsake. She was sure it would get a lot of attention, and Midori could even show it off to her friends. But Midori replied that there was no point in trying to bait her like that. Maria looked a little disappointed and said she only wanted to get along with Midori. Midori clarified that she wasn't trying to reject her. Maria quickly concluded that Midori was actually easy to win over and kind. Annoyed by the teasing, Midori looked frustrated, and Sueharu tried to calm her down. Sueharu then asked Maria to head home since her house was far from there. But Maria casually said she didn't mind spending the night at Sueharu's place. Hearing that, Midori got angry and immediately grabbed Sueharu by the collar. He asked her to calm down and turned to Maria, asking if she had said that on purpose. Maria pretended to be clueless and even said she wanted to play doctor like they did 6 years ago. That comment instantly made Aoi and Akane suspect that Sueharu was being inappropriate. Sueharu was clearly frustrated by what Maria had said. but Maria brushed it off, saying she was only joking. Later that night, Maria said goodbye because she had something urgent to take care of. Before leaving, she begged Sueharu to consider returning to the entertainment industry. Midori then explained that Kuroha had completely lost all memories starting from the time she confessed her feelings to Sueharu and was rejected up until the recent school culture festival. Curious, Sueharu asked how Midori knew about the confession and rejection. Midori admitted that while Kuroha never directly said anything, it was pretty obvious from both of their behaviors. Sueharu didn't expect Midori to be that sensitive. Midori pointed out that she was also a girl, so it wasn't surprising that she would notice something like that. Sueharu then commented that maybe Midori should act more feminine, but after taking a closer look at her figure, he admitted that she already was. Midori quickly realized that Sueharu had been staring at her chest and immediately hit him in response. Midori then asked what Sueharu planned to do about Kuroha. That question caught him off guard and left him speechless. Akane suspected that Sueharu might be under serious emotional stress, making it dangerous to keep pushing him. After all, Kuroha had flat out rejected him, and that painful moment had been recorded and shared online, viewed over 1 million times. If someone were to suddenly tell him that Kuroha had lost her memory, the stress could very well push him past the edge. Hearing that, Sueharu shouted in panic. Akane quickly clarified that she never intended to upset him like that. Sueharu flicked Akane on the forehead and told her that when someone younger messes up, they just need to apologize, and it's the responsibility of someone older to forgive them with a smile. Midori then asked where that quote came from. Sueharu said it was a line from Ma in the movie Acid Snake. Midori was surprised that Sueharu knew about Ma. She also mentioned there were rumors going around that Ma's latest song was pretty intense and asked if Sueharu knew anything about her. Then Aoi shared that Kuroha was planning to meet Sueharu the next morning because she had something to tell him. Before the three of them left, Akane asked if Sueharu planned to return to the entertainment world, but he still hadn't made up his mind. Akane said that she'd be proud if he did make a comeback, but admitted she'd also feel a bit lonely. Still, she had no intention of stopping him. What Akane really wanted to say was that whether Sueharu chose to return to showbiz or to pursue love, she hoped he would make that decision based on something positive, not as a way of escaping. That kind of choice would be a huge turning point, and she wanted him to pick her not out of pain but because of genuine feelings. Sueharu thanked her sincerely for that. The next morning, before heading to school, Kuroha met Sueharu in front of his house. Sueharu asked her how much she remembered. The last memory Kuroha had was right before summer break, specifically when she planned to confess to him. She admitted that she had seen the video too, and couldn't understand why she acted the way she did during the festival, especially since she really liked him. Then she asked if Sueharu still liked her, even after the way she treated him. Sueharu was clearly still haunted by that rejection. Kuroha apologized, saying she realized just how badly she had hurt him and wanted to make things right. When she reached out to hold his hand, Sueharu pulled away. That's when Kuroha realized just how deeply she had hurt him. She said she wanted to become the version of herself that Sueharu once trusted. Sueharu said he didn't blame her at all and admitted the rejection happened because he had done something foolish. Kuroha then suggested they start over, comparing their situation to buttoning a shirt the wrong way. If you restart from the beginning, everything lines up again. Sueharu insisted that none of it was Kuroha's fault, and he was the one who should be apologizing. He asked her to stay by his side, promising he'd try to work through his trauma. Not long after, Shirakusa's car pulled up and she offered Sueharu a ride to school. She was concerned that reporters might be waiting at the school gate. Sueharu knew that Shirakusa and Kuroha didn't get along. He didn't expect them to become friends, but he also didn't want Kuroha to feel left out. In the end, they all headed to school together, and Sueharu hoped that was the right call. While they were in the car, Shirakusa quietly mentioned to Kuroha that she noticed she left school early the day before and asked if she was doing okay. Sueharu then explained Kuroha's memory loss. Suddenly, Kuroha asked why Sueharu and Shirakusa seemed to be getting closer. Shirakusa responded by asking if Kuroha was truly curious about their relationship, which made Kuroha visibly annoyed. Then Shirakusa whispered to Sueharu that based on her instincts, she didn't think Kuroha had actually lost her memory. That gave Sueharu an idea. He now had a plan to find out the truth. While at school, Sueharu invited Kuroha to have lunch together in the library storage room. He had prepared a lunchbox for her, and he intentionally included octopus-shaped sausages because Kuroha had a past trauma involving that food. If she hadn't lost her memory, she definitely wouldn't have eaten them, but unexpectedly, Kuroha said the food looked delicious. She opened her mouth but quickly closed it again. She explained that she did that because she believed Sueharu would run away if she got too close. Then she asked him to come closer. Seeing Kuroha's blushing face made Sueharu feel flustered. Kuroha, noticing this, immediately hit him on the face. Afterward, Sueharu fed her the octopus sausage, and to his surprise, Kuroha ate it eagerly. That was when Sueharu realized that she had truly lost her memory. Kuroha then asked if he was planning to visit his former talent agency. In response, Sueharu handed her the agency's business card, explaining that the agency's director was interested in her after seeing a certain video. He was asked to bring Kuroha along if he came. Sueharu wasn't sure yet whether he would return to the entertainment industry, but at the very least he wanted to hear what the director had to say. Kuroha was actually not too thrilled about the idea of Sueharu returning to the entertainment world. She had seen how much he had suffered back then. However, she admitted he looked good dancing in that video. Sueharu told her it was all thanks to her. Her advice was what helped him get back on his feet. Without her, he might not have made it. Even so, he understood that she wouldn't remember any of that, and he said that losing one's memories was truly heartbreaking. Suddenly, Kuroha hugged Sueharu as he sat in sadness. She could tell that his tears were for her. She agreed to go with him to the agency. Out of the blue, Shirakusa arrived with Tetsuhiko. She asked Sueharu if he was struggling with the decision to return to showbiz. Sueharu was shocked that she knew about his private conversation with Kuroha. Apparently, Shirakusa had asked Rena to install a hidden camera in the room. She was annoyed because Tetsuhiko ended up telling Sueharu about it. Sueharu couldn't believe Tetsuhiko did that. Was he afraid of being hated by girls? Tetsuhiko calmly said he didn't care about girls unless they liked him. Without any warning, Sueharu punched Tetsuhiko to satisfy Shirakusa. He told Tetsuhiko that he should be grateful since that punch solved their problem. The two ended up bickering for 20 minutes. After that, they all sat down to eat together. Tetsuhiko mentioned that Shirakusa wanted Sueharu to play the lead role in a story she was writing. Shirakusa admitted it was true. She wanted to see what Sueharu was capable of. Tetsuhiko revealed that he wanted all of them to become active in the Ultramarine Channel Entertainment Club. The club's activities included releasing videos, making ads, producing dramas, and more. In short, was turning into a content creator group. According to Tetsuhiko, if Sueharu joined an actual talent agency, he'd get too busy with work and might even quit school. That's why he thought it was better for them to enjoy typical high school life while they still could, and only join the entertainment industry after graduating. He added that since Shirakusa wanted Sueharu to star in her story, there was no need to rely on TV or movies. They could make it themselves through the Ultramarine channel. Shirakusa suspected that Tetsuhiko was after her popularity. He admitted that was part of it, but what he really needed was her ability to plan and write stories. He also believed she was the one who could help bring out Sueharu's full potential. Shirakusa agreed to the plan. Kuroha, on the other hand, suspected that Tetsuhiko had some other hidden motives. He admitted there was more to it, but that didn't mean everything he said was a lie. Sueharu understood. He didn't push further, but he did find Tetsuhiko's idea pretty exciting, like launching a secret mission to conquer the world from a hidden base. Then he asked whether the group only had 3 members: himself, Tetsuhiko, and Shirakusa. Tetsuhiko said the club had 4 members because he included Kuroha in it as well. Sueharu said he would make his decision after meeting with the agency's executive director. Instead, Tetsuhiko pleaded with Sueharu to let him join the meeting, and Sueharu agreed as long as Tetsuhiko didn't get in the way. Shirakusa also asked to come along since she wanted to hear the conversation directly. Sueharu found himself caught between 2 paths, returning to the entertainment industry or continuing his normal everyday life. He remembered the advice Akane had given him to make his choice based on positive feelings. The next day, Sueharu met Maria at the agency. Seeing her made him recall their first meeting. Back then, Maria had been harsh to everyone and made things difficult for him. Maria, on the other hand, remembered how much she had genuinely admired Sueharu's acting from the start. Even though he was pretty plain as a person, something about him completely changed when he acted. She was convinced that Sueharu had a natural gift for entertaining people, and that his talent was the real deal. Not long after, Tetsuhiko, Shirakusa, and Kuroha arrived. The group went together to meet the executive director of the agency, Hardy Shun. When they met, Hardy said that Sueharu was handsome and had a strong presence. Sueharu responded by complimenting Hardy, saying he had an incredible aura himself. Hardy asked Sueharu if he was ready to come back to the agency. Sueharu admitted he was still unsure and mentioned feeling like it might be a waste of time. Hardy, however, told him that it was about time he started making money and that school wasn't necessary. He then asked if Kuroha was ready to debut and urged her not to reject the offer. But Kuroha clearly stated that she came to the agency to decline. Hardy tried to convince her by saying that if Kuroha debuted with Sue Haru, they could make 100 million yen and 300 million yen a year respectively. Those numbers were possible if they followed the plan. Hearing this, Sue Haru turned to Tetsuhiko and jokingly asked if Rena would still reject him if he made that much money and asked for something inappropriate. Tetsuhiko was shocked and called out how out of line the idea was. In response, Kuroha, Shirakusa, and Maria gave Sue Haru some pretty terrifying looks. Hardy then shared that a major sponsor had specifically requested Sue Haru for their commercial, and that they would be visiting the agency soon. If Kuroha joined the ad as well, it would create even more buzz. Hardy tried once more to persuade her, but Kuroha politely declined again. She said that while money was important, she wanted to prioritize the people who mattered most to her. Hardy argued that money could actually make things easier for those close to her, especially when it came to taking care of family. Still, no matter how many times he tried to change her mind, Kuroha stood firm in her refusal. Eventually, Hardy lost his patience and said she was difficult to talk to, even criticizing the way her parents raised her. That remark clearly hurt Kuroha. Out of nowhere, Sue Haru splashed his drink on Hardy's head and told him not to insult his childhood friend like that.